Welcome to Let's Dig Deeper, a podcast devoted to exploring life through the lens of shadow work. I'm your host, Steph Flores, and together we'll journey beneath the surface into the parts of ourselves we often avoid, and the truths that shape how we lead, live, and connect. This is a space for raw reflection, radical honesty, and the kind of conversations that invite transformation. So take a breath, get present, and let's dig deeper. This episode is for the ones who are holding a dream so tight it almost hurts. For the ones who are still hoping and still trying, still showing up, even when it doesn't make sense on paper, even when it feels like no one sees you. You're not alone, and you're not crazy, and you're not too late. This episode is for the dreamer. So, let's be real, right? Dreaming isn't Pinterest boards and manifesting journals and vision board parties, right? There's a weight to it, a tenderness and a vulnerability, because when something matters this much, it feels risky to name it. And your dream probably didn't come from nowhere, right? Maybe it came from what you lacked growing up, or a moment when someone believed in you and it finally felt safe to hope, or maybe from surviving something no one else even knows about. So let's take a moment to reflect. When was the first time your dream found you? See, holding a dream feels like walking around with glass in your hands. It's beautiful, but it's also breakable, right? And then there's the fear of saying it out loud, because once it's spoken, it's real. And if it's real, then it can fail, but it can also fly. And that's what keeps calling you back. So this episode, it's for the part of you that still hopes, the part that whispers in the quiet, maybe it's still possible. Even when your voice shakes, and even when your knees do too. So now let's talk about the loneliness of vision. It's not that you don't want to share it. It's that when you do, people don't always get it. And maybe you've dropped hints about your dream in conversations only to be met with blank stares. Or worse, that soft, patronizing awe people give when they think you're aiming too high. So what do? Right? You start to wonder, is it safer to just keep this to myself, to bury it, and to stop bringing it up? Because rejection hurts more when it's something you love. But here's what I've learned. Sometimes vision has to be lonely. Not because it's wrong, but because it's sacred. And sacred things, they're not always crowd approved. Right? So you're not behind, you're not weird, you're not whatever, right? You're just early. And early often looks like doubt and isolation or second guessing until it becomes legacy. So let's pause here. Where have you been downplaying your dream just so you can feel accepted? And what would shift if you let yourself believe, even if you're the only one believing in it? So when it comes to dreaming, there's something no one warns you about. When you care deeply about your dream, it's easy to become it, right? The line between this is something I want and this is who I am starts to blur a little bit. You tie your confidence to whether it's growing. You link your self-worth to metrics or milestones or praise. And when it's going well, you feel unstoppable. But when it's quiet, you start to question everything. If this doesn't work, am I a failure? Right? And here's the truth. You are not your dream's outcome. Your value was intact before you ever tried. And your worth is not up for negotiation just because your dream is still in rough draft form. So Say this out loud. I trust myself to grow into the dream. I'm allowed to be new here. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is separate your worth from your work. Because you are allowed to want something deeply without making it your entire identity. So if your dream paused today, who would you still be? And could that be enough? Now, let's be honest, waiting can feel like slow suffocation. You've done everything you're supposed to do. You've prayed about it, you've planned it, you've posted about it, you've prepared, and still no breakthrough. You haven't gotten anywhere. You're not where you want to be. It starts to mess with your head a little bit, right? Maybe I got it wrong. Or maybe I'm just not it, right? But look, just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. And just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not happening either. So think of a seed. The most important work happens underground, right? Roots are forming. Foundations are being built. And if it sprouted too early, it wouldn't survive the wind. You see, the delay might be preparing your character for the weight of the calling. Because your dream is big. And big dreams require deep roots. And so you can feel tired. And you can cry. And you can take breaks. But don't quit because it's taking time. Time is not your enemy. It's your ally. And I get it. There's discouragement sometimes in the waiting. Discouragement hits hardest when you care the most. And you didn't come this far to feel like you're circling back to square one. You start wondering, did I misread the signs? Or why do I keep hitting walls? Is the universe telling me to stop? Those are questions that you ask, right? What has the waiting grown in you that success never could? Here's a reframe. Not every delay is discouragement. Some are divine detours. It's just sometimes we don't realize it in those moments. Some are course corrections to keep you aligned with the dream's true shape. Because dreams evolve, right? What you envisioned at 20 might look different at 30. That doesn't mean it's dying. It means it's growing up. And maybe what felt like a door slamming shut was actually a doorway into something better. So your job isn't to force the dream into its original form. Your job is to stay open to the version of it that wants to meet you now. So when it comes to being a dreamer and doing the work to see this vision come to life, there is a lot of invisible work that takes place that no one sees, right? That no one claps for. It's the early mornings, the late nights, shaky first drafts, the failed launches, or the gut check moments. There is no audience, and there are no likes, and there isn't any feedback. Just you. It's just you and your belief. And that's what separates the dreamers from the dabblers, right? The invisible work is where your grit gets built, where you become someone who can handle the visible parts of success when it comes. So if you're in the phase where no one seems to notice, where you're editing in silence and you're launching into the void, please don't give up. Because it's the work that you do in silence, that's the work that matters. And if you need someone to say it, I see you. I see you're trying. I see your tears. And I see your fight. And the world may not know it yet, but your dream does. And we always talk about the fear of failure. Right? But what about the fear of success? What if it actually works? What if people do see you? See, that's a different kind of vulnerability because success raises the stakes. Now there are expectations, right? People are watching and people are waiting and people are depending on you. And that's when you start to think, can I sustain this? Or what if I disappoint them? What if I disappoint myself? And sometimes without realizing it, we self-sabotage. We slow down because we overthink. And then we shrink ourselves, right? Not because we don't believe in the dream, but because we're scared we can't carry the weight of it. And here's your reminder, if that's you. You don't have to be ready for all of it right now, because growth doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. And you'll learn as you go. You'll stretch as you show up. So don't disqualify yourself from the life you were made for just because it feels bigger than you right now. You know what's powerful? Building before the approval, before the platform, before the praise. And you don't need a blue check or a team or a giant following to get started. You just need courage and consistency and clarity. See, the world teaches us to wait until we're qualified, until we have a degree or a budget, a perfect website, right? Or a viral moment. But most dreamers don't start with certainty. They start with conviction. Build anyway. Speak anyway. Create anyway. Show up anyway. Let people think you're too much. Let them doubt you. Let them watch. Because you're not building to prove anything. You're building because something in you refuses to quit. So what would it look like if you stopped waiting to be chosen and chose yourself instead? So for a moment, let's zoom out. Years from now, when it's quiet, when the metrics don't matter, what will you be proud of? And I hope it's not just the numbers or the launches or the praise. I hope it's the courage it took to keep going. I hope it's the grit it took to keep building. I hope it's the softness you didn't lose along the way. Your dream isn't about going viral. It's about going deep. It's about what your voice, your art, your vision will leave behind. See, the world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more people willing to risk being seen. To speak when it's easier to stay silent. To care when it would be easier not to. To dream when the world tells you to settle. So to the dreamer listening to this right now, I see you and I'm rooting for you. And more importantly, your dream is rooting for you too. So until next time, keep digging deeper. Keep choosing you.